everyone. My name is Joram Mwinamo, and I would like to welcome you to Chats of the Box, where we usually have different experts from the sandbox discussing issues of the day and different topics in business. And today I'm here with two of my colleagues who are going to introduce themselves and say what they do. We can have ladies first.
Thank you, Joram.
Yeah.
My name is Stephanie Nguku. I'm the founder and managing partner at Upscale Consulting. We equip entrepreneurs by packaging them to be investor ready, so as to enable them to access capital in order to scale their businesses. And happy to be here.
And my name is Okonji. I'm a founder of BGS, Business Growth Solutions, working largely with startups, and we turn great ideas into profitable business. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. And as I mentioned, I'm Joram Mwinamo. I am a strategy and entrepreneurship consultant, founder, managing director at Wild and Sandbox. And so today we are going to be discussing the question of creating value. In Kenya we are known to be a very copycat market when it comes to developing of products and services, and this is something which, in my opinion, is not even just a disease for startups, where people look at an idea out there and then copy and replicate it. In the most basic form, it's you open an M-Pesa shop here. If you seem to be making a lot of money, before long you have another 5 similar shops right next to you, and eroding any gains you could make from that, so you end up splitting your customers 5 times. I don't know if you guys have noticed that trend and what you think could be the cause behind the fact that, from small companies even to your large, say, media houses or whoever, people wait for someone to come up with a good product and then they copy it. What are your thoughts around this particular issue?
Yeah, I think I can go with that. Well, at least from my perspective, when you look at companies, there's passion driven and then there's opportunity. And the unique companies with the unique value are always going to be the passion driven companies. Passion being, I have this unique gift or skill set, and I'm willing to grow it to provide a specific solution to a specific demographic. When you do that, you're well on your way to developing a unique product, or working with a similar product but delivering it in a unique way.
Different.
So, but if I'm looking at opportunity and I say, wow, there's opportunity to make money through an M-Pesa outlet, there's opportunity to make money through selling whatever product that XYZ is selling, then you do have that copycat sort of thing going on. And so is your business driven by passion, or is it opportunity? Somebody could argue, yes, as you drive it by passion, you'll see the opportunity in providing the solution. Yeah, but really on this end, when you're driving it by passion, and so it might sound cliche, but you're looking at less about the money and more about impact. So that's really, I think, opportunity, passion, that's how I see it.
Stephanie, are you a passion-driven entrepreneur, or?
Passion for sure should be done, because if you are doing something that you are not, there's no, that emotive drive, you are likely not be able to do very well in it. So passion should be there. But again, the opportunity becomes, needs to be very clear. That you are not just, you can be passionate about that opportunity, but you also need to think through whether it will convert to viable business size. And speaking from the point of, like, when you're looking to raise capital and you are looking for an investor, it becomes very fundamental to really clearly show that opportunity, how it drives. It is different from any other opportunity. Like in the case of the M-Pesa shop, maybe you can come up with a very clear, I would mention 3 areas there. I would know an investor would weigh much on. First would be the value that you are creating for the customer. So you have opened your M-Pesa shop here, and there's a next one here. So what is different, from your shop and this other person? what is it that will drive your customers, to your shop? It could be things like even customer service, that you don't run out of lot, or it could be where the location, it could be anything that creates value to the customer. Of course, is what drives the customer to the shop. And then secondly, could be issues around what is the competitive advantage again for that business. So it could be around the quality of the product that you are providing, whether if it's away now from the M-Pesa shop. In terms of the pricing again, convenience. So what is it that makes your product stand out and that people will be driven to come to your business and not any other business? And then again, scalability. If you're going to a financial or an investor, how scalable is your business? What we mean by scalability is that in terms of the customer base, that your addressable market, how big is it that you can be able to sell that product or to be able to capture bigger market? Because the bigger the market, of course, the more the money, and that will be create a lot of value for the investor again. Are you able also to scale or grow that business, open new branches, go to the region? So those become very fundamental aspects in not just the idea you have, but how big can it grow to create value for yourself, for the customer, and for the investor.
I mean, it's interesting for me because from a strategy point of view, when I'm consulting with a lot of clients, sometimes I can even be dealing with somebody who's been in business 15 years, but they don't know how big the market they're targeting is. Maybe you're targeting a market that is too small, does not make business sense. Even if you serve the entire market, it will not generate enough money to support your business. And I think, like Stephanie, you've raised some very pertinent issues around how unique is your business. Because if your business is not unique, from a strategy standpoint, it means one, people will copy it very easily. Number two, when other people copy very easily, they start putting pressure down on price. So you cannot price at a premium, and it means your profits eventually get eroded. And so you find that this is where you end up in something we call a commoditized market, where I always tell people, if you're always walking into a pitch or to sell something, and you end up having a price discussion and not a value discussion, the client is thinking, I can get this thing exactly as you're giving it, cheaper elsewhere, so why should I work with you? So if you find you're consistently in that space where the price conversation keeps coming up, then you need to go back and ask yourself, is my product unique enough? Because once you're in that commoditized space and people cannot differentiate between Jan and somebody else, you're going to be really running a very difficult business. And this is where now we get particularly businesses that have been around longer to start thinking, if you're not innovating on the technology front, if you're not innovating on your business model, in no time you'll be out of business. Because more and more people will keep jumping in. We call it barriers of entry when it comes into strategy. When they're very low, everyone will just, come and jump in, and you find that before long you're more or less out of business. So I mean, how you guys work with a lot of clients, how do you usually advise them through this process of creating value that ends up for you being attractive, for the financiers, for you to help them get traction as a business and grow something unique?
Like, for instance, very good. I mean, I like the things you've mentioned. Also, Stephanie, very awesome insights on the quality and also scalability. I think I tell this with startups a lot. The greatest USP you can give is not on your product, because people start the business and focus so much on a product. How do I develop it and differentiate it and make it unique? And for me, the greatest USP you can have in your business is yourself.
Okay. When you say USP, what do you mean?
English.
Some people might not understand.
Unique selling point.
Yes.
So what's that unique thing that your business has that other businesses don't have, that differentiate you? So your unique selling point. And I say the best unique selling point you can have is you, because people buy people, not products. So let me be very specific. The passion, the level of passion you bring to your business That then will cascade through your staff members. That will be reflected in your product. That's going to resonate with a specific type of people who resonate with that sort of personality. So I always tell like startups, bring a certain passion and energy into your game when you're selling your product. Before you even start developing that product, find a way of having your personality within the product. I mean, it's not by chance that we resonate with Apple and KFC and all the big brands. The logo has very little to do with it, but the persona behind that logo. During this period of quiet, of calm, when people are working from home, and you're a startup, you're somebody starting a business, one of the things you can do, passion again and opportunity. The passion bit and infusing your personality into your product, and maybe I'll talk a bit on that later, that takes time. That's one thing people have to realize. That's going to take time. And how does it take time? You have to focus on that unique gift or skill you have and invest and learn on it over time. What you call the 10,000 hour rule. Malcolm Gladwell talks about it in his book Outliers, where he says all these so-called geniuses are put in a minimum of 10,000 hours into their craft. And that's how they became Kobe and Michael Jackson and whoever. So, but you need to eat. So if you have your gift or skill as a startup, look for the opportunities, do the price game, do other things which you're not naturally gifted at, but which you can do quite well, the things you're competent at, do that to make the money, but then focus on your craft and your passion. I found out people whose businesses are passion-based, based on their personality, don't even have to go into a price war. They don't even, so-and-so is selling wallpaper for 2,000 shillings per square feet. You don't even have, you could sell you as double. And because your market value you so much, there's so much more than just the product they're buying. They're buying the ambience, they're buying how they're treated, because what a customer is looking for is somebody who gets them. So for me, learn how to differentiate yourself first before your product. That's just one. That's a starting point in actually making your product unique.
That's very interesting. I think you said something very profound. It's almost as if your personality or who you are ends up being expressed in the product that you develop. So if you're not clear on that uniqueness, it's actually very interesting. Yesterday we had gone from one restaurant to another with a friend of mine. We were trying to look and buy something. And we were talking about the fact that previously in that very same location, you had a restaurant, but it was doing very poorly and it even shut down. And then you have a brand like Mug and Bean or Java or somebody coming to the very same location and the next day people are trooping in. So you're like, what's the difference? So it was not about the location, it was really about the product and the passion that had been built into creating an experience. So there's a lot of difference you can build in how you do what you do, even if other people do the same thing. Like there were many coffee shops in Nairobi before Java came along, but they came and did something different, and now they have 40-something branches, and some of those other coffee shops are still struggling as one coffee shop.
Even if you look at Apple, for instance, just look at the dichotomy of the company, cut it through. There are very many firsts that Apple did that positioned them. People compare Apple, Microsoft. Microsoft is software, Apple is hardware, largely. Forget about the hardware per se. Apple were the first company to package their products in a color carton. Everyone was doing brown cartons. That was Steve Jobs saying, hey, and that cost them so much more in terms of overhead, but that set them apart. But that's his personality, thinking in color as a creative. His dad would do carpentry and the hidden parts of the hidden joints, and he'd make the hidden joints so smooth and beautiful and say, Dad, why are you doing this? Well, he'd say, because that's what I do. I like things looking nice. And he got that in his formative years and put that into the hardware of Apple, such that when you open the computer, there's so much beautiful engineering happening in there. And there's a demographic that would pay top dollar just for that. So that's an example of a personality being infused into the product. That's way before even saying, how do I position my product differently? Ask, how do I bring my personality? How do I put Stephanie into
into the business?
I like the aspect of passion in driving a business, because ideally, the more passionate you are about the business, the more you are likely also to want to hone the skill and the product and make it better.
Yes.
But then again, also to try and answer the aspect of traction. Traction will come as a result of that customers are actually buying the product. So there is money which is, trickling. That is what traction is about. How many people or customers will buy into your product or your service? And what will make a customer buy your product or your service? It's the value that they find, the value that is created by that product. Yeah. For example, I need these glasses because they will enhance, my sight. So that is a value that I am buying. It is not even the glasses.
Solution is provided.
Yeah. So because I can find, you have found other glasses, on the streets and, just for cosmetic use, but they don't solve the very problem that I have. So really, being able to understand again, someone said, there's a quote somewhere, but it went, how it went is that people do not care about the product or the service that you have. However excited you may be about. They care about the problems that they have. So be the solution.
Yes.
Or let the product or your service be the solution that they are looking for, not the product. So when you have this idea and you are passionate about it, so the next thing is to ask yourself, really, will someone put their money on the table for this product that I'm creating or the service? And the only way you can do that is, of course, you create what we call the MVP, the minimum viable product, or your prototype. Then get out in the market and start testing and asking people, so this product is doing 1, 2, and 3. And when you are selling to them, it's not just, again, if I would say the glasses, these are glasses. Tell me what the glasses do for me.
Communication.
That is what I will pay for. So it becomes very fundamental, you as a business person, to understand what value really is your product creating for the customer. Because when the customer feels that you are solving a problem that they have, then they will pay for that. And if it's a repeatable product, of course, again, with customer service and the passion you have, then they build on to become loyal customers. They become repeating. So you have a customer base. They become the customers to refer your product or your service. And then that is how no traction works.
Yeah, so because I find sometimes people put so much passion into the product that they fall so much in love with their product that it's not so much about the customer anymore, it's about how much they love the product. And I find that especially the older customers I deal with, people who've been in business a bit longer, sometimes you find that either technology or market forces have shifted away from the product they originally had. But they are so in love with this is how we've always done it, that they don't realize they need to shift the value to the new way in which people are consuming.
Is this a passion thing or is it a mindset? Because you could have all the passion, you shouldn't die.
Yes.
We have this fixed mindset. Which prevents you from changing. I think it's more a mindset thing that where you don't roll with like you see at the point at which you set up, say, the initial product, it worked so well, and then it started to grow and it started to scale, that you almost got stuck in that process of continuing to grow and grow and grow, that you don't realize that the market is shifting, the forces are shifting, and then you don't go back into that creative mindset of, I need to create the next thing. So you find that now people get stuck and fall in love with how they've always done things, that when the younger and newer people start coming into the organization and talking about the fact that things need to change, they're stuck on, no, but we've always done it this way and it's working. But they don't realize that there is a different way of doing it that comes, and it can start to actually wipe them out of business. I don't know if you guys have seen that with... I've seen it with me.
Yes.
I've had that, especially if it's your own baby, your own company. I started this company when I had nothing now, and you're telling me to change now. So I've seen that.
So you have to be able to embrace, the change and the trend that come. For example, the coffee shop we are talking about. Sometimes it's coffee, which is being offered from from the market being from Java, but sometimes we find, like in most cases, I know the mark and bean is kind of, I'm picking and, taking away. But Java is more of an experience that you're creating for the customer. So again, the customer knows, for example, if I have even a serious business meeting, I can be able to conveniently have it there. The ambience are, the experience again also is what, again, you need to consider when you're offering your product or your service. So it can be a product or it can be a service. Also, how you handle the client from the beginning to the end. What experience, are you giving them? Will it get to a point where they are like, I don't know, this strategy that Joram is drawing for us.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not even reachable. Other times it's not even clear where we are going with this strategy. So simplify the process, make the experience, very enjoyable and flowing for the customer. That again also becomes a way of creating value.
Yeah, so I think it starts from the problem you're solving and then the functionality around solving that problem, which is probably the most fundamental. Like if you're solving the problem, then the customer will buy. But then with time, if other people also start having the same problem, you need to find ways of differentiating. So it could be around creating a different, there's a quote I really love which says, a good product is easy to copy, but a good business model is much more difficult to replicate. If you look at some businesses that have created barriers, most famous one back here home, Safaricom. A lot of people remain on Safaricom because of M-Pesa. So they've created this thing alongside the original product that creates so much stickiness that it's people find it difficult to move away from. I hear that if you buy an Apple product, I'm not an Apple enthusiast, that once you get the first product, say the phone, the experience is so good, you end up buying the laptop, then you get onto iTunes, and then before long you're enclosed in this entire ecosystem that the next time you want to move away, if you wanted to even try a different phone or computer, you find it so difficult because your world is so integrated in that particular ecosystem. So I think there are also aspects from a strategic point of view where if you have a product that's working, you start to think about how do I create a business model around it that makes it difficult for people to move away from my product. So you can think about, will I add an online platform that, gives me access to my customer? Or do I create a community around my product that people share their experiences, say online or in a WhatsApp group or that kind of thing? Or, do I create it such that my product is easily accessible? When you look at even this, your KFCs and your McDonald's, is that they made their product accessible in the same taste and in the same way in different locations. So that's like a business model thing where you can get the same experience no matter where you are in the world. And it becomes very key to start looking at the broader, because some people think that if I just have a good product, that's enough. But you may run on it, but it's in a matter of time, other people will probably catch up. Even Apple have had that problem. Like they had very superior features, but you find now the competition have phones with even more Samsung and your Huawei's have more superior features, so they have to keep looking for a way of staying ahead of the game.
Definitely. I like one of the things you mentioned. How do you differentiate yourself, especially for a startup? One way of differentiating yourself is, I like you're right on the money, Joram, when you talked about creating products alongside your main product that act as a barrier to entry. I don't know if I should say that, but and for instance, if you're a startup, let's say you're selling tomatoes and you want to differentiate yourself, you can put that stuff out on IG. You can differentiate yourself by how often you interact with their demographic on social media. You can differentiate yourself by writing an ebook on tomatoes. You can differentiate yourself by having a YouTube channel on, on tomatoes. You can have a closed WhatsApp group where people join and then they're able to listen in and you can give them advice. Now, over time, like you said, Stephanie, you then create community. And the key here is time. Guys have to be patient around this stuff. And with the internet now, time is relative. It can be 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. But the idea is to do that stuff consistently. If you do that stuff consistently, that's how you create the community. Now, how do I create community? Oh, I put my IG account, I've done my WhatsApp group, I've done, Jan, I'm still not getting people. It's very easy. The best lure to get your customers is offer the stuff for free initially. Not the product, but all these barriers to entry, offer it free because people like free stuff, me included.
Everyone.
And then when they start coming in,
Yeah.
communicate your product very well. Yeah, you start, so there's this jab, right hook, where if you're in a ring and you're boxing, you don't go for the right right hook immediately. Your opponent won't fall. You jab 3 times, then you land the right hook. So that's what you do with your client. You give away 3 items for free, then that's when you offer the real sell. So this strategy, I look at it in 3 ways. One, what skill set have you developed, or what unique gift do you really have? I prefer skill set which is developed as opposed to saying I'm divinely whatever I do.
Yes.
So what skill set do you have that you've been developing? 2, what structure or strategy do you have for developing that skill and putting it out to the market? But thirdly, how will you communicate that to your intended audience? Because you can have the greatest product, but if you don't know how to communicate it in a compelling way, in terms of you spend 10,000 shillings on this, but you're going to save 100,000. If you don't know how to communicate that breakthrough, it will be very hard to grow that community. Yeah.
So I think I'm hearing from you that at the end of the day, creating superior products or superior value to a company is a process. Like first of all, people just need to, accept the fact that this thing is not going to take a short period of time. It takes a lot of time. There are a lot of small bits and pieces. There's feedback from the customer that you learn and you build into the product. There's different ways you experiment. Sometimes you find some of the breakthroughs come as an accident. You try something and then it ends up becoming so good. It ends up becoming the new business model of how you can do things. There are times I tell my clients that even scarcity can be very good for creating innovation, because whenever you always have money, you'll always throw money at the problem. You always think, like a problem always looks like a money problem when you have it, but when you don't have the money, you find a more creative way of doing it, and then it can end up becoming your business model. But at the end of the day, all these things have to translate to, the Excel sheets. They have to make sense.
Talking on scarcity, know now that Zoom, it surprised me, now that the value of Zoom as a company is bigger than the top 4 or 5 airlines in the world.
Yes, put together.
Yeah, that's and these guys had how many? A couple of million subscribers last year in December.
I think it was some crazy amount, like, well, it was something like 10 or 15 million or something, but now it's like 300 or something.
Now it's like, so that's how scarcity then has created,
Yeah, COVID has helped create value in that particular whatever thing. Yeah. Okay. So, but how would we then end up packaging this uniqueness for somebody to fund it, or to attract the capital that helps us to scale it? Are there like processes you go through? Is there a language that the financiers are looking at to be able to tag onto something like this?
Yeah, well, that's a good observation there. Now, of course, for an investor, what they're looking for is a return. So they want to be able to see how this product, and uniquely as you have described it, and unique in terms of how it is standing out from the rest of the market or the product, is able to get to the customer, and they can create value to the customer, and that now becomes the traction in terms now to build the Excel, as you're calling it. So there are aspects around the business model, like you've mentioned, which become very fundamental to understand how will the business make money. So you have the product, it is unique, so how do I get it there? You could have a business, for example, if we are to look at Safaricom, for example. They have different models in how they make money. They sell airtime, there is M-Pesa transactions, there is the fiber, solutions, there are Okonji, there is, they are also lending, what do you call, they are also lending
Oh yes,
Fuliza.
Fuliza.
Yes,
Oh, Fuliza.
Fuliza as well.
Yeah. So there are all those models. The model needs to be very cut out and very clear how you are actually making money from the business. Because now that is what we translate to the numbers, to the Excel. And that is now what makes it attractive for the investor to now want to put money in the business. But again, you also need to think about the cost structure vis-a-vis the revenue that is coming in. Because some of the businesses can be very capital intensive. Yeah, so if the investment is too high, and you need also to show how to translate that the revenues would be, enough again to cover the cost and still be able to remain very profitable, and of course a good return for the investor. Yeah, so those are things that.
When would silly question, but when would for me, when would be for a startup?
Yeah.
When would be a good time, Stephanie? Why I'm saying silly because startups are different. But when would be a good time to seek out an investor?
To be honest, at every stage there are investors at every stage. If I am to cut out the different stages of categories of businesses, we have the idea, the idea stage. When you just have the idea,
Facebook.
yeah, it's just in your mind, you are yet even to get it out in the market, and actually be able to, you have not validated it yet. And then the second stage would be the startup stage, when you have actually started to develop the prototype, and you have started trying the market. So you want to validate, that idea and see whether that product is able to be sold out there. And then the third stage would be at the growth stage, whereby the business has grown and you have been able to, to amass clients, and you have repeat customers, and now you are actually looking to grow your customer base and all that. Then the fourth one would be the mature stage, you want to expand, maybe to add in new products, like you're saying, or to open new branches and access new markets. Now, why I'm bringing out the 4 stages is that at all those different stages, there are investors who are interested to come in at the different stages. Now, an investor would be interested in that idea stage. But like I said, again, you need to be able to communicate the value that you're creating for the customer, which will trickle in traction and bring money, and that will translate a return for the investor. And if you can be able to show that value, then the investor will be interested to come at that stage, because at that time, it's going to be cheaper for him to gain entry in your business, and in the long run, will be able to reap more benefits from the value the business will create. Also, at the startup level, there's someone who is idea, no, I want you to try it first.
Okay.
Yeah, but you still also can be able to create. That again, also, I'll be interested to come in at that stage, because again, also, I'll grow with the business. So it's not the same as the growth and the mature kind of stages. Of course, the idea and startup are considered very risky, because you are still trying to find your way out there. Some of the capital you are on survival mode. You are yet to break even. Yeah. So then at the growth stage, of course, now the likes of the VCs and such will be interested, because now there is a return. They are sure that you have tested the market. You want to grow. So and then the mature stage, of course, again also becomes easier. So what I'm trying to say, at any given stage, there are investors who would be interested at that stage. But it becomes very fundamental to know how to communicate the value that you are creating for in the business. So as long as you can communicate the value,
you'll get
the business.
Whatever.
Depending on what stage you are.
I'll be a bit biased.
I think in industry language you have angel investors, seed stage investors.
Yes.
Then you have venture capitalists and private equity.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's kind of the continuum of the first stages.
For my babies who are watching the startup guys, because I have to be biased. I have to be biased towards them.
The angel investor.
Before even the angel, I'm a startup and I want to work with Stephanie. I want Stephanie to finance me or link me up to a financier.
Yeah.
At what point am I deemed growth or mature in terms of how much revenue should I be bringing in monthly? Should I, like, for instance, if I bring in £1 million revenue over 3 years, £1 million per month over 3 years, am I, and considering all other things like my debt and everything looking good, am I now growth? What's the minimum threshold for me to say, Stephanie, now I need somebody, I've grown, I've been startup 3 years, I've done. Is it that simple?
Yeah.
Is it not that?
It's not the number of years that will translate to
Yeah.
you have been considering your business to be at growth. Like, I'm sure you've come across with most of your clients, you can be in business for 10 years, but
You
you're
stagnated.
still-
You actually stagnate.
Yeah. So, the growth aspect is at the point whereby really your product is, you have repeat customers. Your product has a customer base, which you can say, this number, I'm actually sure that at the end of every month, I can make $1 million or whatever. There's a guarantee of that.
So pegged on the repeat customers, the consistent customers.
Yeah,
Because I think
there's a customer base which you can say you can content in the market.
Because I think from a product point of view, it means that your product is proven and there are people who continuously buy it, which means its value is something that people are happy with, and whatever.
So
is
money not such a
consistent.
good indicator,
Yeah.
but customers have 40, 50 guys every month.
Yes.
You have customers.
Okay.
And maybe you have a way of showing that I'm serving 50, but there's another 1,000 I can reach if I'm able to increase my productivity, if my business model is able to reach them.
Yeah.
For us, from a strategy point of view, at every stage, we always find that there are certain things that will make people stagnate. So like at startup stage, it's usually, the product is validated, there's quality, there's a pricing, and there's what we call the product market fit. If you're able to do that, then you find it unlocks the next whatever, and you get repeat customers, then you're able to grow. And then at growth stage, usually is where you need to start systemizing and putting a lot of processes in your business. Because you'll find the business outgrowing the business owner and needing other people to deliver things, or geographically you grow, and then after that, if you put systems and processes in place, now we start talking about things like management capacity, things like governance. Very key. I think I've been having a conversation on my Facebook group around the fact that in the retail sector we don't see very good governance behind some of our retail chains, and they're handling a lot of other people's money, but if they had credible people on their boards and stuff, then they'll probably be able to unlock the next wave of growth, which is where now you find they're able to list on IPOs, open up in other countries, and that kind of stuff. So you need to look into unlocking those different things.
And all this can happen here.
Of course. So definitely it can happen here. And I don't know if you guys have any final words for people as we wind up. Just when it comes to creating value and packaging it and financing it.
Well, okay, I was going to say Stephanie first, but I'll go. I think I've picked out a number of awesome stuff in terms of how to develop a unique product, the stages of growth that your product will go through, and that financing is key, and at what stage you should get your financing. So for me, those are the 3 biggest takeaways. Also for the startups watching, 2 things which I'll mention on my website, www.bizgrowth.club. I've put out a free ebook there which you can download, which can kind of guide you. It's like a compass through these murky waters when you're trying to understand where you should position your product. That's the first thing. But the second thing is also at the Sandbox, there's a great number of resources here who can help you on that journey so that you don't have to jump around looking for different experts, but they're all under one roof.
Yeah, agree.
Okay. Thanks. Now, what I would say when it comes to matters investor readiness, first of all, you need to understand the basics. And the basics would be like what I was referring to, the different stages, at what stage your business is at. Because at that different stage, you need to know which door to knock so that you can be able to access capital. At times and in most cases, will get frustrated because, for example, you are that startup. and you are talking to a VC, they will not listen to you because you are not at the state that ideally they will be interested with the growth and mature kind of businesses, just to some extent. So understand the basics of, again, the types of funding which is relevant to you. Are you looking for debt? Is it equity? Is it a grant? So those are the basics around understanding what funding is, or the issues of funding, and how it is, what it is that you need to know from the level where your business is, and who is the right, viable kind of capital for you. Secondly, analyze your risk profile. Understand really your business because your business or your idea can be very exciting, but even with every business there's a risk, so know and be able to explain how you're going to mitigate those risks. They could cut across their market risk, their financial risk, their people risk, or all that. Understand your risk and be able to show how you are going to mitigate those risks. Thirdly, they know the target investor, the right investor who is for you. If you are looking, or financial in that case, maybe you want an equipment, okay? There are companies who you can be able to lease that equipment instead of actually having to put money and tie your capital there. And you just come up with a conversation around that. Or taking a debt now which is going to tie you to pay on a monthly basis. So understand your right fit, or if it's an investor, is equity kind of investor the ideal for you, or debt, and who are there and who are they. It takes time actually to be able to lock down to the right investor. In the case of Cellulant, I don't know whether you read his story.
Yes.
He interacted with how many investors? Was it around 400?
400, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, I know he has been raising capital for the longest time. It's a retail tech solution. And from his story, he said that they have interacted with 76 investors. But of course, still fine-tuning and understanding to be able to really reach the right one. But sometimes it could be, the lack of knowledge and understanding on how to approach the investor, and whether you have packaged yourself. Yeah, because these are busy people, and they, with the kind of, exposure they have, they can be able to spot a good idea from afar, or not a good one. Yeah. So, and then of course, then fourthly, what I would say is that to be able to get your idea out there, craft a proper, business plan or pitch deck or proposal. Now that's what communicates your idea. If that is not standing out well, then it ends to the bin, unfortunately. So crafting a very good business plan or pitch deck or proposal, it's a grant, becomes very key. And if you have challenges around that, that is something we do. And of course, fifth, the last point would be, you have the conversation with the investor, and maybe you have agreed that this is an opportunity, he sees that he wants to come in and invest. But then now it's not the point to get excited that, money is coming in. Until the check is written or the money has hit in your account, there's still work to be done. So there are also other aspects that you need support along issues of negotiation, valuation, interpreting those term sheets. So that really, and also due diligence. They will do due diligence on you. You also need to do due diligence on them and be ready for that due diligence. And there's a lot of packaging that we take care of around that on the investor readiness checklist. And that is something we support business people with in upscale.
And nice. I think what I really like about what both of you do is that you bring a new way, because when I think traditionally about how people were entrepreneurs and built businesses, first of all, people chose to struggle the whole way without any advisors. So even as a startup, you just go making mistakes, losing money. And when things are crashing is when you go looking for help. And for you, you do it in such a way that you introduce a new way of how you can fund and scale your business. Because again, also traditionally, as Kenyans, we tended to hold on too much onto our business. We don't want, to let go of shares. But we've seen companies in the recent past raise billions of shillings, and then you're able to go Pan-African or even global just within, one generation. And these are things that I am happy that, people coming to the sandbox would now have access to. If you're a startup, if you're a business at any stage, whether you're starting out, whether you're growing, whether you're getting established or, scaling, you can find all the necessary resources to help you with the strategy, to help you with, structuring your business. We have a whole bunch of, beyond these two experts, we have others who can help with your brand marketing and all sorts of other things. And so we are all about building great businesses here. Sometimes I get excited when I look at some of the businesses that we've worked with strategically, and you find people are unlocking 5 or 10 or 20 times the value of their business and starting to do hundreds of millions or billions in turnover just because of putting the right things in place and financing the business. So you're all welcome to the Sandbox. We've come to the end of our Chats of the Box series today. There'll be others coming up. You can look out for them. But thank you for joining us, and thank you, Stephanie and Jan, for your valuable insights.
Thank you.
Yeah,